The desert sun hung low over the Hejaz, casting long, bruised shadows across the jagged peaks surrounding the valley of Becca. It was the year 570 CE, a year that would be etched into the memory of the Arabs not merely for the heat or the shifting sands, but for the trembling of the earth. Abraha al-Ashram, the Abyssinian viceroy of Yemen, marched north. His army was a terrifying spectacle of steel and leather, a dark stain moving across the golden dunes. But what froze the blood of the Bedouins and the city dwellers alike was the beast at the vanguard, a massive war elephant, a creature of alien might, intended to tear down the Kaaba, the ancient house of God built by Abraham and Ishmael. Mecca was defenseless. The Quraysh, the custodians of the Kaaba, retreated to the mountains, watching helplessly as the army approached. Abd al-Muttalib, the grandfather of the prophet to come, stood before the Kaaba, holding the metal ring of its door. He did not pray for swords or shields. He prayed to the Lord of the house to protect his sanctuary. "I am the Lord of the camels," he had told Abraha earlier, negotiating for his livestock, "but the house has a Lord who will protect it." As the elephant, named Mahmud, was goaded toward the cubic structure, it refused to move. It knelt. Whips cracked, shouts echoed, but the beast remained stone still facing Mecca. Yet when turned toward Yemen, it rose to trot. Then the sky darkened, not with clouds, but with wings. A flock of birds, described in history as the ababil, swarmed like a living storm. In their beaks and claws they carried stones of baked clay. They rained destruction upon the invading army, decimating the forces of Abraha, leaving them like eaten straw. Silence returned to the valley. The Kaaba stood untouched. In the wake of this miraculous deliverance, in the home of Amina bint Wahab, a child was born. His father, Abdullah, had passed away months prior, leaving the child an orphan before he drew his first breath. Abd al-Muttalib took the infant to the Kaaba, his heart swelling with a joy that pierced his grief. He named the boy Muhammad, the praised one, a name unfamiliar to the Arabs, a name that signaled a destiny written in the stars. Chapter 1. The Shepherd and the Merchant. The custom of the nobility was to send their infants into the desert, away from the stifling air of the city, to learn the pure Arabic tongue and acquire the hardiness of the Bedouin. Halima al-Sadiya, a woman of the Banu Sa'd tribe, took the young Muhammad into her care. Her donkey was lame, her breasts dry, and her land barren. Yet the moment she took the orphan into her saddle, her mount outpaced the caravan. Her livestock returned with full udders. The very air around her tent seemed to shimmer with barakah, divine blessing. For years the boy ran upon the sands, breathed the pristine air, and watched the stars wheel overhead in the infinite silence of the desert. It was here, amidst the stillness, that his heart was prepared. He returned to Mecca a boy, only to face a succession of heartbreaks. His mother, Amina bint Wahab, passed away when he was 6. His grandfather, Abd al-Muttalib, followed when he was 8. The protection of the child fell to his uncle, Abu Talib. He was a man of noble lineage, but little wealth. Muhammad, refusing to be a burden, took to shepherding flocks in the rocky hills. It was a humble trade, the trade of all prophets before him. In the solitude of the hills, guiding stubborn sheep, protecting them from wolves, and finding pasture in barren lands, he learned patience. He learned to listen to the silence. As he grew into manhood, his character shone brighter than the Meccan sun. He did not indulge in the vices of the Quraysh, the drinking, the gambling, the worship of stone idols. He was quiet, contemplative, and rigorously honest. The people of Mecca, a society built on trade and trust, began to call him Al-Amin, the trustworthy, and Al-Sadiq, the truthful. It was this reputation that caught the attention of Khadija bint Khuwaylid. She was a woman of immense stature, wealthy, noble, and a widow who managed her own vast trade caravans. She hired Muhammad to manage a caravan to Syria. Upon his return, her servant, Maisara, who had accompanied him, spoke not just of the prophets, which were substantial, but of the man. He spoke of his integrity, his gentleness, and a cloud that seemed to shade him from the relentless sun. Khadija, 40 years of age, saw in this 25-year-old man a nobility that transcended wealth. She proposed marriage. Muhammad accepted. It was a union of love and profound respect. For 25 years, she would be her confidant, her comfort, and the first to believe. Chapter 2. The Cave of Hira. The years passed. Muhammad approached his 40th year. Mecca was thriving commercially, but spiritually it was rotting. The Kaaba was surrounded by 360 idols. The poor were trampled, infant daughters were buried alive in shame, and tribal blood feuds ran like rivers. A heaviness settled in Muhammad's heart. He could no longer bear the noise and the corruption of the city. He began to retreat to the Mount of Light, Jabal al-Nur, climbing to a small cave near the summit called Hira. There, suspended between the earth and the heavens, he would meditate for days, contemplating the creator of the vast universe, seeking the truth of Abraham that had been lost under layers of superstition. It was the month of Ramadan, in the year 610 CE. The night was heavy, the air charged with an unseen electricity. Muhammad was alone in the cave. Suddenly, the silence was shattered. A presence, overwhelming and terrifying, filled the cramped space. It was the archangel Jibril, though Muhammad did not yet know him. The angel squeezed him tight, so tight he thought his ribs would crack, and commanded him, "Iqra," read. Trembling, unlettered, and terrified, Muhammad replied, "I am not a reader." The angel seized him again, crushing the breath from him, and released him. "Iqra." "I am not a reader," he cried again. A third time, the embrace, the overwhelming power. Then the angel released, and the first words of the final revelation poured into the atmosphere, etching themselves onto his heart. "Read in the name of your Lord who created man from a clinging substance. Read, and your Lord is the most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man that which he knew not." The presence vanished. Muhammad, shaken to his very core, stumbled down the mountain. The horizon seemed to scream the name of God. He rushed home to Khadija, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. "Zammiluni, Zammiluni," he cried. Khadija wrapped him in a cloak, holding him as he shivered. He poured out the story, his fear that he was losing his mind or possessed. Khadija looked at him with the fierce eyes of a woman who knew the soul of her husband. "Nay, by Allah," she swore, "Allah will never disgrace you. You keep good relations with your kith and kin. You help the poor and the destitute. You serve your guests generously, and you assist the deserving calamity-stricken ones." She took him to her cousin, Waraka ibn Nawafal, an old man who knew the scriptures of the Christians and Jews. Waraka listened to the account, and his old eyes filled with tears. He whispered, "This is the Namus, the angel of revelation, who came down to Moses. I wish I was young and could live up to the time when your people will turn you out." Muhammad was shocked. "Will they turn me out?" "Yes," Waraka replied. "Never did a man come with what you have brought without being treated as an enemy." Chapter 3. The Secret and the Stone. The revelation ceased for a time, a period of agonizing silence before returning like the breaking of a dam. The command came, "Arise and warn." For 3 years the call was secret. Muhammad spoke to those closest to him. Khadija was the first woman to believe. Ali ibn Abi Talib, his young cousin living in his household, was the first child to believe. Zayd ibn Haritha, his freed slave, was the first freedman to accept. And Abu Bakr, his closest friend, a man of soft heart and iron will, was the first free man to accept the message. Through Abu Bakr, the circle grew. Uthman ibn Affan, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, the future titans of Islam, embraced the message. They gathered in secret, whispering the verses that challenged the very foundations of Meccan society, the oneness of God, Tawheed, and social justice. Then came the command to preach openly. Muhammad climbed Mount Safa and called out to the clans of Mecca. When they gathered, he asked them, "If I told you there was an army behind this mountain waiting to attack you, would you believe me?" "Yes," they cried, "we have never experienced a lie from you." "Then I warn you of a severe punishment if you do not worship the one God." The silence was broken by his uncle Abu Lahab. "May you perish! Did you gather us for this?"
The persecution began not with swords, but with mockery. They called him a poet, a madman, a sorcerer. But as the message of equality resonated with the weak, the slaves, and the youth, the laughter turned to violence. The ruling elite of Quraysh saw the threat. This new faith dissolved the hierarchy. It claimed that a slave was equal to a master in the eyes of God. This was an economic and social catastrophe for a tribe that thrived on the prestige of the idols. They targeted the vulnerable. Bilal ibn Rabah, an Abyssinian slave, was dragged out into the scorching noon heat. His master, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, placed a massive boulder on his chest, demanding he renounce Muhammad. As the rock crushed his ribs and the sand burned his back, Bilal whispered only one word, a defiance that rang like thunder. Ahad, Ahad. One. The family of Yasir was tortured. Sumayya, Yasir's wife, was pierced with a spear by Abu Jahal, becoming the first martyr of Islam. Her blood watered the seed of the faith. Muhammad walked by them, helpless to physically intervene, his heart bleeding. "Patience, O family of Yasir," he promised. "Your meeting place is paradise." Chapter 4: The Year of Sorrow. The Quraysh escalated. They attempted to bribe Muhammad, offering him kingship, wealth, the fairest women. He replied, "If they put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left to abandon this course, I would not abandon it until Allah makes it prevail or I perish in the effort." Frustrated, the Quraysh imposed a total boycott. The Banu Hashim clan was exiled to a narrow valley. No one was to trade with them, marry them, or speak to them. For 3 years, the Muslims and their protectors starved. Wailing cries of hungry children echoed in the valley. They ate leaves and boiled leather to survive. Muhammad stood firm, his resolve unshakable, sharing the hunger of his people. Finally, when the boycott was lifted, the document enforcing it having been eaten by termites, save for the name of Allah, the Muslims emerged, gaunt and skeletal. But relief was short-lived. In swift succession, Muhammad lost his 2 greatest supports. Abu Talib, the uncle who protected him from the swords of Quraysh, died. Then Khadijah, his beloved wife, the tranquility of his heart, passed away. It was the year of sorrow. The prophet was now physically vulnerable and emotionally shattered. Seeking a new sanctuary, he walked to the city of Taif, in the mountains. He hoped they would listen. Instead, the chieftains of Taif mocked him. They set the street urchins and slaves upon him. They stoned him as he walked out of the city. Blood ran down his legs, filling his sandals. He collapsed in a vineyard, utterly exhausted. He raised his hands to the sky, not to curse them, but to pray. "O Allah, to you alone I complain of my weakness, my scarcity of resources, and the humiliation I have been subjected to by the people. O most merciful of those who are merciful, if you are not angry with me, then I do not care." The angel of the mountains descended, offering to crush the city of Taif between 2 mountains. Muhammad, the mercy to the worlds, refused. "No," he said, wiping blood from his face. I hope that Allah will bring forth from their loins a people who will worship Allah alone. Chapter 5. The Night Journey and the Pledge. In the depth of this darkness, God granted him a light unlike any other. One night, while he slept near the Kaaba, Jibreel came to him with the Burak, a beast beyond description. In the Isra and Miraj, Muhammad traveled from Mecca to Jerusalem in a single night. There, at the Al-Aqsa compound, he led the souls of all previous prophets, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and others, in prayer. It was a confirmation of his lineage, the seal of the brotherhood of revelation. Then he ascended through the 7 heavens. He witnessed the unseen realities, the garden and the fire, and stood at the Sidrat al-Muntaha, the lote tree of the furthest boundary, where he received the command for the 5 daily prayers. He returned to Mecca with a renewed heart and a specific gift for his people, the prayer, salah, the direct link between the slave and the master. Meanwhile, destiny was stirring in the north. During the pilgrimage season, Muhammad met a group of 6 men from Yathrib, a city of oases torn apart by civil war between the tribes of Aus and Khazraj. They listened to the Quran. The Jews of Yathrib had long foretold a prophet. These men thought, let us reach him before they do. They accepted Islam. The following year, they returned with 12. The year after, 73 men and 2 women met Muhammad secretly at Aqaba under the cover of night. They pledged not just faith, but blood. They invited him to Yathrib. They promised to protect him as they protected their own families. This was the turning point. The Hijra was set in motion. Chapter 6. The Spider's Web. The Quraysh sensed the shift. A council of Dar an-Nedwa was called. Satan himself, in the guise of an old man from Najd, is said to have attended. They debated, exile him, imprison him. Abu Jahl proposed the ultimate solution. Let us take a young, strong man from each tribe. Let them strike him as one man with their swords. His blood will be spread among all the clans, and the Banu Hashim cannot fight all the Arabs. The plot was set for that very night. Jibreel informed the Prophet. Muhammad instructed Ali to sleep in his bed and cover himself with the Prophet's green mantle, assuring him no harm would come to him. Under the cover of darkness, while the assassins surrounded his house, Muhammad stepped out. He recited the verses of Surah Yasin, casting a handful of dust at them. A divine slumber overtook them. Their eyes were blinded to his presence. He walked right past their drawn swords. He met Abu Bakr, and together they slipped out of Mecca, climbing the rugged terrain to the cave of Thawr. When the Quraysh awoke and found Ali in the bed, fury consumed them. They launched a massive manhunt, putting a bounty of 100 camels on Muhammad's head, dead or alive. Expert trackers followed the footprints to the cave of Thawr. Abu Bakr and Muhammad huddled inside, hearing the footsteps of their pursuers crunching on the gravel just outside. They could see the feet of the polytheists. Abu Bakr trembled, whispering, "O Messenger of Allah, if one of them looks down at his feet, he will see us." Muhammad looked at his companion with the calm of a man who sees what others cannot. "O Abu Bakr, what do you think of 2 people of whom Allah is the third?" Outside, the trackers stopped. Across the mouth of the cave, a spider had woven a thick, intricate web. A dove had built a nest and laid eggs. The trackers scoffed. If anyone had entered here, they said, the web would be broken and the eggs crushed. They turned away. For 3 days they hid. Then, taking a coastal route untrodden by caravans, they moved north. They were hunted, thirsty, and exhausted, but they carried the future of the world in their hearts. After days of treacherous travel, the palm groves of Yathrib appeared on the horizon. The people of Yathrib had heard he was coming. For days they had gone out to the edge of the desert every morning, waiting under the scorching sun until the heat became unbearable. On that day, a Jew on a watchtower spotted two figures clad in white, shimmering through the heat waves. He shouted at the top of his lungs, "O people of Arabia, your fortune has arrived!" The city erupted. Men, women, and children poured into the streets. The name of the city would change forever. It was no longer Yathrib. It was Madinat al-Nabi, the city of the Prophet.